Hello, sentient beings, non-sentient beings, YouTubers, non-YouTubers, vaccination monkeys, and alternative health junkies, and those who are free thinkers or think they're free thinkers. Free to think you're free thinking. This is the Cult Chaser, Monica's Ghost. And I just want to give a little bit of a channel update. We will be on hiatus from now through most of August. So I have these last two videos coming out, and then boom, I'll be checking my Facebook page and my messages on YouTube, but I won't be doing, I may throw a video up once in a while, but not very often. Because we're moving, and our storage unit got broken into. So we are having to deal with that. No fun, no fun. Well, here's the thing. This is what I want to put out there as my hiatus video. And like I said, there's another one coming out too that I got to get it out there, whatever order they come out in. This is the last. I received a message that I found interesting on my Facebook page. And then I also have been dealing with somebody who thinks that I profoundly hate them. I believe that they're a scammer, and I have been trying to expose them through my Monica's Ghost channel and page, Facebook page. And after having reread several things that I've written to her and she's written to me, even though they're highly incoherent what she's written to me, and reading the message that I received, which was actually very well written, I thought I would do a little bit on free thinking. Because the message written to me kind of summed up everything. The person said that I live the religion of anti-belief, and that I'm an atheist, which I am not, but said I'm an atheist, and that my atheism is a militant hatred of all things faith-related. And that in it itself is an ideology, and if I hate ideologies so bad, why am I an atheist? Now, interestingly, I had just had, in the last week or so, kind of some back and forth just comments and stuff with the gal who runs Havoc and Chaos blog about her. She just doesn't like certain ideologies. She really hates them. She's specifically religion. She was just, and she has her reasons, and I haven't heard them yet, but I'll bet you they're a lot like mine. I don't hate ideology. I actually love and embrace iconography and the place of faith and religion in historical context. But of course I also come at it from a very academic and anthropological way of looking at it. I appreciate its place in the formation of society, and how it is a psychological and sociological construct and need, actually, in the human psyche and in the anthill we call, human society. So I actually love to read about and dissect and psychologically figure out how a specific cult or religion has shaped and formed societies. And I'm not just talking about the ones that think that there's a sky daddy up there. I am talking about, God came, put Adam and Eve down here, blah, blah, blah. I am talking about all of them. And I include atheism in that. I believe that atheism is a religion. So I'm not anti-religious because, I have a religion, quote unquote, a spirituality. And atheism is a religion, which is something that I probably am on the verge of. I just don't want to give up my toys in paganism, I guess is what it is, really, when you think about it. The idea that religion is only about the magical process of the sky daddy is inappropriately thought, because religion is whenever you buy into a cult and you allow them to position themselves and their canon as your moral code. And this includes alternative medicines as a rule. If you allow David Wolfe to set your canon, you've bought into his religion. If you allow only Western medical technology to set your canon, you've bought into it. And specifically if you buy into it and do not question the concerns that are there, because all systems are corrupt in some way, because humans are corrupt in some way. So you will never have an infallible system. And that includes science, period. It will never be infallible. If it was infallible, you can never improve upon theories and processes. And you also have to have the mistakes and the failures in the process to be able to understand and to grow. So to say that, to buy into the fact that one side is infallible and the other side is not, is religion, period. It is Eric Hoffer, who wrote The True Believer, talks about this a lot, about how religion really isn't buying into the God that's presented to you, the infallible God that's presented to you. It is in buying into the fact that the devil that you are hating proves the infallibility of your God. Because you can be so busy worried about the devil that you don't have to look at the concerns of where you're at. And this is when I talk about, to me, free thinkers are the people that are really on the fence, the real free thinkers, because they're the people who get it. They're the people who can look at big pharma or at big religion or at the Pope or whatever and say, okay, that's bullshit, and why it's bullshit or what in it is bullshit. Okay, let's put it that way. I have a husband who's disabled and every day uses medical technology that without it he would not be alive. Okay, or he would have a very difficult life. Okay, and yet at the same time, that doesn't mean I'm buying into every fucking single thing the doctors try to hand us, because every day you see on TV where somebody, there's been death and issues and disabilities caused by things that were released too soon, or that the marketers just tried to get out there and use, and nobody was paying attention. And all they cared about was getting their shit out there. And it's the same way on the other side. You have alternative medical things that work for some people and don't work for other people, and so everybody calls it all bullshit instead of saying, okay, here's where it's helpful, here's where it's not helpful, here's what it's doing. And you have scammers on that side too. You have Monica's Entity, who I believe is a huge scammer. I don't think she knows half of what she's talking about. That is the problem. Those are the problems. You have people who don't know what they're talking about, on either side, and saying that their side is right and the other side is wrong because they're so focused on the other side. They have not looked into anything they link to on Facebook. And this is not just a online phenomenon. That, I have talked to I don't know how many people that do not look up for years before the internet. I'm a pre-internet baby, and I'm telling you, for years people you wouldn't walk in a library and look up a research paper, but they knew what they were talking about. They'd read it in the newspaper, in some fly-by-night newspaper, or they had been to some fly-by-night university, or they had done some, my friend of a friend told me, and his doctor told him. Well, how do you know his doctor's right? Have you looked anything up? It's called self-responsibility. The free thinker must have self-responsibility. And they must be able to admit and embrace the negatives of their stand. They must be able to say, now look, here is what is negative about my stand. Here is what is fallible about where I am at. And if one cannot do that, one is truly not free thinking. Period. And that goes for both sides. If you're not embracing other ideas and learning about them at least. Here's a perfect example. Mike Pence, who is going to be running under Donald Trump, he just comes out and claims in an op-ed, that he, in a 1999 op-ed, that the movie Mulan was liberal propaganda, because that is his devil. And that it was liberal propaganda to get women to be able to serve in the military. He had no knowledge of, because he had not researched or done anything, he just wanted to go after his devil. He never considered that Mulan is based on a timeless folk story from China, because he never bothered to look into it. I meet people every day on both sides of the aisle, specifically in atheism and quote-unquote religion, that have no idea what the fuck they're talking about because they've never looked at it. They cannot cite for me a specific. They just know that they hate religion if they're atheists. They hate religion. Really? Well, your absence of belief is a religion of its own because it has a canon and it has a process. And when you buy into it so deeply and you buy into the canon so deeply that you refuse to open your mind to what's going on around you, you have just bought into that religion, quote unquote. So you're not anti-religious at all. On the other side, if you are so caught up in being only, let's say, uber Christian, because that is in America what we deal with so much, and you cannot even understand, you are so caught up in your canon says don't open other books, don't look at other faith systems, don't look at other folk systems, don't look at other cultures because that's a sin, because Satan created them all. You'll end up like this guy who fucking thought Mulan was, some kind of propaganda. Basically, the freethinker is a huge contradiction in themselves. They are the ultimate fence sitters. They're not a fence sitter in the sense that they can't make a decision and so they just don't care, or they're just going to sit there and be without a thought process. They're the people who will jump off the fence on one side, run around, spend some time with those people, jump back up on the fence, have a beer, jump off the fence on the other side, run around with those people for a little while, and actually observe what's going on and talk to them and say, wow, how is it that you got to this point? Their agenda is not, a freethinker's agenda is not to disprove anything or to prove anything, in my eyes. The freethinker is a person who thinks freely. Do I contradict myself? Very well. Then I contradict myself. I am large and I contain multitudes. And I embrace the thoughts, the thoughts that flow freely. And then look at them and say, was that a good thought? Was that a bad thought? That's a terrible thing to think, or that's a great thing to think, or wow, I never even looked at it like that. And I may be completely off base to somebody who thinks more logically, and I may be completely too logical for somebody who's way fucking out there and thinks that, unicorns, make penguins. I don't know, something weird out there. But, I still think that that's where when you can show an absolute curiosity for the thought processes and even the ideologies, I think that you're truly a free thinker. Now, from that, you have to start to judge the actions of those in those thinking camps, in those ideological camps. If the camps help create with that person, because there's self-responsibility. If those camps help create with the person who refuses to have self-responsibility a negative action, jihadists, rapists, beating women, this man who just killed his sister because she wanted to be a model in Pakistan, those type of things, then we need to take actions, and we need to hate those actions that are hurting other people and harming people. You shall no longer take things at second or third hand, not look through the eyes of the dead, nor feed on the specters in books. You shall not look through my eyes, nor take things from me. You shall listen to all sides and filter them from yourself. This is important. Because no matter where you go, once you buy into the religion, it is a cult of personality. On one side, you can buy into whoever, Ricky Gravis and Bill Nye and whoever else is spouting atheist or sputing, that's my word, I love that word, sputing atheistic works or scientific works, and saying that these are infallible when this is not true. All things have to be fallible, or else you cannot improve upon them. Just because you know doesn't mean that you will not have a failure within the process, because that's how you find out more. There's nothing wrong with being mistaken, and we, as a society, as a human species, have started to tell people that if you cannot be decisive and pick a side, period, with a frothing love for that side, or a frothing hate for the other side, you are not decisive enough, and you are not picking your issues correctly. You cannot be a person who contradicts. You cannot be a person who filters from yourself. And that is the real sin here, if you want to use a religious word. That is the real thing we should be hating, is being told, obey. And I've seen too many people on the atheist scientific side who are just as much into the obey as the people who are on the fantastical side, and the non scientific, believing that everything was created by one sky daddy side, or 2 sky daddies, or 12 sky daddies, or whatever. Okay? And that, the magical thinking side. Without that magical thinking in the beginning, we wouldn't have the scientific side. Without the scientific side, we wouldn't be able to embrace and enjoy and understand some of this magical thinking. We would not be able to say, oh my God, that is how it works, and isn't that just as cool? That is as much a miracle from the scientific point of view as it is from this other point of view. And it is so easy to get sucked into one side or the other, because I've been on both sides. I have been sucked in completely to both sides. And now that's why every time somebody says to me, I am fervently vaccine person, blah, 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 I say, have you read anything? Have you actually read stuff? Have you ever read the inserts? And, if you don't do exactly what they tell you with vaccines, you are obviously anti-vax, and I hate you, and I want nothing to do with you. Really? Have you read of any of the alternatives? Have you read about doctors who say, hey, I think that we have too many going out, too soon. We need to, there's different ways of getting this done. We have people who do have reactions, and we need to be able to account for those people and help them too, because they have the right to health as well as if the meta-analysis shows that, out of 2,500 people, that 5 people have a really bad time when they get a vaccine done, we still need to concern ourselves with those 5 people and help them. No, we don't, because they're not part of the process, and then they'll just prove everything wrong that I'm saying. What is that? And the anti-vax does the exact same thing. Oh, you still get your vaccines done, even though you get them done based on talking to 7 doctors, and because you've had reactions before and you're trying to get them done and limit the reactions. You're still a pro-vaccine robot. You buy into it. It's the free thinker has a responsibility. The person who says they're a free thinker has personal responsibility to understand the positives and the negatives of both sides of an issue and come to a reasonable, rational conclusion. And in that, you will have, on that fence will be very wide, and you'll have people facing both directions. Ready to jump off on one side, ready to jump off on the other side. Because they're constantly re-evaluating what they've heard and been told. And if you cannot do that, you are not free thinking. You guys have a great rest of the summer.